Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this Thursday edition of 10 with Ben, Thursday, May 16th, 2024, where you're going to get 10 minutes with me, Ben K. We are going to start with the baseball reference Immaculate Grid like we always do, and then after that, you'll get the remaining minutes with me talking about, well, whatever I would like to talk about that I think needs to be talked about, something that you might want to hear, hopefully. So we'll get right into it with today's Immaculate Grid. We've done this enough now to where I don't feel like I have to explain it. Boy, this morning glare is a tough one, huh? Let's see if we can get that a little bit better. We have the Immaculate Grid. It's a grid with 9 squares. We have to get a corresponding player to the intersecting squares. We have 9 guesses, right? Can't use the same player twice. And at the end, we're assigned a rarity score, which kind of gives us a look at your baseball knowledge. A rarity score in the single digits is elite baseball knowledge. A rarity score in the triple digits means that you've come up with a lot of common answers that the other people that are playing are coming. And, somewhere in the middle is somewhere in the middle. So let's get started. On today's grid, we have... And again, I'm trying to compensate for this glare here. We have a player that played for the White Sox and the Blue Jays, the White Sox and the Orioles, a player that played for the White Sox and had 2,000 career hits, a player that played for the Astros and Blue Jays, Astros, Orioles, Astros, 2,000 career hits, and a player that played center field for a minimum of 1 game for the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and a player that played center field for a minimum of 1 game and had 2,000 career hits. So, let's... Man, I'm really sorry about that glare, guys. I guess that one's a little bit better there. So, we'll start here with White Sox and Blue Jays. Obviously, my intention is to go rarity score here. So, off the top of my head, George Bell comes to mind, Frank Thomas, but I'm going to go with Orlando Hudson. All right. White Sox and Orioles. Harold Baines, Tim Raines. Those feel like common guesses. Let me go back into my brain and see if I can remember some failed prospects. I got one. Brooke Fordyce. Who remembers chasing his classic rookie card back in the mid-90s? Brooke Fordyce, yes. Okay, so now we have a player that played for the White Sox that had 2,000 career hits. Frank Thomas, of course, comes to mind. Harold Baines comes to mind. Jim Thome comes to mind. Now remember, this team didn't have to play their whole career for them. They just had to play 1 game with the White Sox. I'm going to go with Tony Phillips here. I think Tony Phillips played a long enough career to have 2,000. Now, of course, I always mix him up with Tony Fernandez. I hope I got the right Tony here. I do. Pretty rare scores so far on these guesses. All right. Astros and Blue Jays. This one, as a baseball reference guy who's played this game all the time, this one is the old standby of Danny Darwin. Yes, sir, or ma'am. Okay, so Astros and Orioles. Glenn Davis comes to mind, a power hitter from the 80s. Yeah, I'm going to go Julio Lugo, actually. All right. Houston Astro that had 2,000 hits in their career. Well, we know the obvious answers, right? Killer Bees, Bagwell, Biggio, Berkman. I believe Hall of Famer Joe Morgan played for the Astros. I got it. Let us go with Moises Alou. Hope he had 2,000. He did. Okay. All right. So now, final spot on the grid, Toronto Blue Jay, who played a minimum of 1 game in center field. Now, this is where my rarity knowledge comes into play, because I'm going to remember obscure outfielders that had to have played a minimum of 1 game in center field, right? So let's go with Rob Ducey. Yes. Played center field, minimum 1 game for the Orioles, right? Mike Devereaux, Jeffrey Hammonds. I mean, those feel like rare guesses. I'm going to go with another failed prospect, Chris Richard. Chris Richard. All right. So we get down to the final square on this grid. And by the way, I just want to let you know, I'm looking at these percentage guesses, 0.2%, 0.4, 0.2, 0.4, 0.3, 2%, 0.4%, 0.04%. So as long as I can guess someone obscure enough who had 2,000 career hits and played center field for a minimum of 1 game, we are assured a single-digit rarity score, and maybe the lowest rarity score of my entire life. But I have to come up with someone who had 2,000 career hits and played center field for a minimum of 1 game. I'm going to go with
Tariq.
I'm going to go with former Royals All-Star Willie Wilson. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Our first single-digit rarity score, and it is super low. I believe now. I think once about 3 months ago, I got a rarity score of 3, but behold that. And by the way, 0.4% of the people guessed Willie Wilson. I actually thought that might be the most common guess out of all these. The most common guess was Houston Astro with 2,000 hits, Moises Alou 2%. So I'll leave that up. Trying to get a little bit better look at myself here. So we got about 3 minutes left, right? So I guess what I'm going to talk about here right now in these 3 minutes. The other day we talked about some stuff that's going on in the WWE coming out of their Backlash Premium Live event, this title reign of Cody Rhodes and who they can give to him to keep it interesting for the fans. I'm going to go to the totally opposite end of this while staying with professional wrestling. And last night I watched an episode of AEW Dynamite, which is the other nationally televised professional wrestling organization. And look, I understand that Tony Khan, son of Shad Khan, owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, wanted to I don't know, live out a fantasy, create a wrestling promotion that was going to be different, that was going to give the fans an alternative to the big budget production, Hollywood, scrub clean, cliched professional wrestling of Vince McMahon's WWE. And a lot of people got behind it when it first started. I think they're 4 or 5 years into this now, and it's hard to watch. Look, you've got a television contract with TBS and TNT. The production value is terrible. It looks like they're shooting this in the community center of somebody's neighborhood with, high definition cameras from the very first generation of high definition. It's not great. They've got a pay-per-view coming up. They're playing the old angle where Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, is in the Vince McMahon role, right? He came out to the ring to reinstate a wrestler who had been suspended for 7 months, and shook hands and hugged, and then that wrestler turned on him, this wrestler being Jack Perry, son of 90210 Luke Perry, the executive vice presidents, who are also the tag team champions, the Young Bucks, came out to help Jack Perry beat him up, and now at this pay-per-view, it's the EVPs against Team AEW, and representing Tony Khan are the tag team of FTR, Bryan Danielson, formerly Daniel Bryan of the WWE, and they had another guy, Eddie Kingston, who was going to represent, but Kingston got hurt. I don't know if it's real or not. And the surprise guy to come and join with these guys was Darby Allin, who was guy that paints half his face and skateboards, and he's a daredevil high flyer who is supposed to be climbing Mount Everest right now, but apparently really hurt his foot in the ring a few months ago, which delayed his ability to climb Mount Everest, which was his dream. And then news came out a couple of weeks ago that he was crossing the street in New York City and got hit by a bus. Social media pictures of him from a hospital bed, all beat up, but he came to the rescue last night, and apparently he's going to fight at this pay-per-view this upcoming Sunday, or maybe it's the Sunday after, and it's just, there's no star power. I talked to you about how I think WWE has a problem because Roman Reigns is taking a break, and Cody Rhodes has this title, and who are they going to put him up against? They just had AJ Styles. Is it going to be Randy Orton next? Now it's Logan Paul. Those are names that people know, right? Even if you don't follow wrestling, right? There's star power there. WWE can figure that out. I just mentioned a whole bunch of names to you that are the main event of a pay-per-view that, I pretty much had to write down last night while watching this. So there's a problem there. And look, there's a lot of AEW loyalists or people that just hate WWE that will staunchly defend this wrestling organization and turn a blind eye to what's going on there. But I don't think it's working. So that's it for me. That's 10 with Ben today. Just some quick thoughts there. Some problems with the star power at the top of the card. But if you tuned in today, you saw so far our greatest Immaculate Grid rarity score ever, and that bar's now been set pretty high, right? I mean, I don't know how we get lower than a rarity score of 4. But thanks for tuning in. This has been 10 with Ben on Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Have a great rest of your day.